Dude, why are there so many coming of age movies?
Why are
That's
there
that's
so
the
many
crux of our entire podcast.
of age movies?
I am inevitable.
You have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
I'm totally Batman.
Oh man!
Communing with the earth spirits.
Welcome to California, bud.
Cowabunga.
And after that, I just sort of space out for about an hour.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. This week, we're talking about coming-of-age stories, our favorites, our own, and who knows what else. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me, as usual, is...
Hey guys, this is Prague.
And this is Alexander Wolfgang. How's it going, guys?
Oh, we're here to talk about coming of age films, and we're gonna see how this goes.
Well, before the show even started, I had to put... I was like, you know what? Let me just get an idea of coming-of-age films. And no joke,
Like
the
two or three,
list
maybe,
just...
right?
There's about 200 or 300
Ah,
that I'm just
yeah.
flicking through. And I'm like, good Lord, maybe I should have put in like
Why, huh?
80s coming of age movies or something like that. Then I would really understand what's happening here. But
no, because I think that
wow.
most of them came out in the 80s, but there are a lot in other decades for sure.
I mean,
But
there's so many, man. There's so many. But why? Why are there so many coming of age stories?
That's what we're here to answer.
Hey,
oh, exciting!
set, spike, people. Let's go.
So,
We don't have spoiler-free reviews today.
right,
for ya.
welcome, everyone. We don't have our usual format. Instead, we just have an open-ended topic of why are there so many coming-of-age stories? We, as society, we eat it up. We go and watch them all the time. And so creators want to make that, but creators also want to tell their own coming-of-age stories because it's just, it's like common. We've talked in the past about there's only a certain number of story types. I feel like coming of age journey is one of those story types, and that's why it just gets retold, and everyone always has their own unique coming of age story because there's billions and billions of people and billions of lives that all have unique situations that have a different coming of age story. And the question is, which one is the one that is your favorite? Because your favorite, is it the best made? Is it the most related to your personal experience? Is it just one that you find fun and you can watch over and over again? It's up to us to decide that. But at home, think about your favorite coming of age story, because to Alex's point, there's a bunch to choose from.
And then choose our favorites. It's gonna be interesting.
And honestly, like I said, I decided to pull up a list of just to see what's out there. And I mean, everything that I'm seeing is, I'm like, wow, I like that. I like that. I like that one. Ooh, I really like that one. And I'm like, my God.
Alex likes these types of movies.
I like these types of movies. Is it because I want to relive my youth in a way? Is that what we're chasing after with coming of age stories?
It's a good question to ask. And I think we should dive into that today to see why we are, as a society, obsessed with these films. Because we have been for decades.
It's
This
not a
isn't
new
trend.
thing. Yeah.
No. So why? And I know not everyone likes them, so.
Uh-oh. Are we
Just
about
a
to learn
spoiler
something
alert,
from
maybe.
you, Prague?
Oh, no. I'm just saying there might be some people out there that don't care for these films.
Interesting. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll find
Well,
out.
before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of this podcast, why don't we do some socials, fellas?
Oh, yeah.
Make sure to check us out over on crossthestreamsmedia.com. You could check us. You could find all of our episodes over there, all of our YouTube links. You could find all of our socials from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all.
Unsubscribe.
Excuse me. Oh boy, I just had a bubbly, so I'm a little burpy. You can check us out on all of our socials at Secondary Heroes everywhere. If you are over on crossthestreamsmedia.com, you can leave us a voicemail. What is your coming of age story or your favorite movie of coming of age story? There's so many. This one might go long, guys. Or it won't. Who knows? But yeah, just remember all this is free for you and it's priceless to us. But Also, leave a 5-star review. Tell your friends about us. Tell your enemies about us. I mean, that'll show them.
Yeah.
That will.
Okay, yeah, I'm good on socials.
Oh, and now for the topic at hand, Trevor.
Well, do we want to start with our favorite movies, or do we want to give ourselves time to think about it and try to answer the question of why we're so obsessed in general? And then, do we want to talk about our own coming of age story, that point in your life where people like your parents or people who've lived through experiences gave you advice, and for some unknown reason, we as humans have to fight against that advice and say, no, I'm going to do it myself. I know better. And then it inevitably blows up in your face. But at that time, when you make that decision, you know better.
hmm I think we should answer the why first. I think that'd be kind of fun to kind of see why we are obsessed with this.
Yeah, let's start
Um,
there.
But I think, Alex, you kind of were touching upon it by saying like you wanted to relive your childhood. And I do think that is part of the reason why a lot of people watch and love these films. It's like, oh, I remember being that kid. I may not have had this exact same circumstance happen to me, but I remember feeling kind of those feelings you get in your adolescence when you fail at stuff and have a broken heart or whatever the crux of the coming of age recipe is. Like you want to go back to that time when you like everything was kind of heightened, I think, when you're a kid and you're trying to figure out the world, you know. Whereas now it's just you're an adult and you're doing adult things. It's kind of boring, right? So it's kind of fun to go back and watch that. I don't know if I would personally ever want to relive my childhood, because that's always the question. Like, would you want to go back and relive your childhood or just tell yourself something? I would not want to relive that, no matter how good some of it was. It's like I've been through that. I'm done. I'll, watch somebody else go through it maybe in video form.
Wow. You're just
So
waiting for that just sweet nap forever, huh?
oh
Oh my
man, it's gonna be
God.
great.
No, but I do think the touching on the reliving your youth all over again, and the thing that I find a lot is that every decade has this. So like, for instance, like people who grew up in the 60s, they can watch like a Stand By Me. A Stand By Me is like, that's classic movie right there that anybody can kind of gravitate to. I don't know about kids these days, but at least like the generation that didn't have TikTok and cell phones and stuff to take up all of our time, we were out looking for, crazy stuff, running on railroad tracks, running through the woods and stuff like that. Like that's what I remember about, growing up in Florida. Like we used to play paintball in the woods out back and do, run around in like swamps and whatnot. But that's the thing is like, I always think of movies like a Stand By Me, of where for the most part, from what I know, like a lot of kids have a group of friends that they connect to. And it's almost like maybe watching these movies, you are like, it reminds you of that group of friends that you once had. Because not any of, for the most part, I'm not friends with too many people from when I was 12.
Right.
And I don't know how many people really do stay in contact with those type of people in their lives, but like there's still good memories from those people, but everybody goes in their own direction, just like at the ending of Stand By Me. Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, right. Read the book.
Yeah, do read the book. It's a good short story.
Well, I think you nailed the generational aspect of it, just because it seems like you can find a movie or TV show that depicts every generation. So every generation has their own story to be like, oh yeah, that for them, that's their childhood. Like me watching Happy Days isn't relevant to my childhood,
Of course,
but
right.
your parents or grandparents, that would be more relevant to. Or, vice versa. Like Euphoria is a hot show right now, but it's coming of age for right now in the moment. And that might not be, resonate with us because it's weird to be growing up right now from our perspective. And there's just every single generation always has a different show or movie that has that coming of age story. So you can always find something to connect to.
Sure. And I think with Euphoria, that's more of a, like you said, a now coming of age story, whereas a lot of them back in the 80s were like, let's put this back in the past 20 or 30 years, like a look back kind of coming of age story. But nowadays, I think within the last maybe 10 years, a lot of them have been more current, like Euphoria. There's been a lot of those kind of shows that are like current coming of age, like in the now. I don't know why that is. I don't know why. Like, obviously, we do have shows like Stranger Things, which touch upon nostalgia, but I feel like the coming
That's
of
a
age
good
stories
one,
really
yeah.
are more grounded in the now for whatever reason, and they weren't back in like the 80s and 90s as much. So,
Right. Those are looking at the 50s, 60s, and 70s, like Wonder
all right, like the
Years.
good
Or,
old
yeah.
days or whatever. Yeah,
It's
The
before
simpler
technology, like
times.
Doc said. Yeah.
But even in the 80s had some really solid coming of age movies, from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, 16
For sure.
Candles, Breakfast Club. Those were all like set in that time now, in the 80s when those came out, which I think it's fun for like us 80s kids to go back. I mean, I was obviously a baby in the 80s, but at the same time, like I really look at the 80s as a really cool, fun time. And it's almost like it's a very interesting time capsule in a way as well, these coming of age movies.
Well, I like that you mentioned those films because they're like the John Hughes films, and John Hughes is like
Oh
known
God, were
for
they?
that style.
Yeah, were
like,
they
that was
all
his
Yeah.
John Hughes?
It's all John.
They are.
That's his entire career.
That's his MO. But like the thing about John Hughes is, yes, they take place nowadays, but they're all based on his childhood. They're all based on his growing up. Like Lampoon's Vacation is his vacation. Like, obviously he took it to extremes, but
Right.
a lot of the anecdotes and that was all from his vacation traveling across the country with his family. So really it was his own kind of like looking back at his childhood, but bringing it forward to now, which is another
Right. Yeah.
interesting aspect, right? I'm not too sure, like on like a show like Euphoria, for example, if those people are younger, like closer to the ages of the people on the show or not. That might be interesting to look into to see if the writers are kind of like taking a look at what their own recent experiences are in the last few years or not. I don't know. But I know John Hughes, for example, was looking at his own childhood for those kind of, shenanigans that he put up in his films.
So, John Hughes, there's a quote of his about these particular movies, and he says, one of the great wonders of that age is your emotions are so open and raw. At that age, it feels as good to feel bad as it does to feel good."
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty much true. That's what I was saying earlier, right? It's like,
Yeah,
that's
emotions
what you're
are
like
just
at that
stronger
age.
because
Your
you're experiencing them
nerves
for
are
the first time. First
crazy,
love,
right?
and
Everything.
making friends and all that stuff. It's the first time you're experiencing it, so it's just going to be more visceral.
Yes.
So here's a question for you guys. I've
Mhm.
actually been watching a show called Only Murders in the Building. Have you guys seen this at all yet?
I've
Outstanding
heard of
show.
it, yes.
It is
Yeah,
very
I've
great.
heard very good
Oh,
things.
I love that show.
Could you hear me out on this?
Okay.
Could this be considered a coming of age? Just because these guys, like for instance, these guys, they're at an age where they've done it all and seen it all, and they pretty much are like, okay, well, we're pretty much done. I'm going to die alone type of thing. And then someone comes into their life, and now it's almost like they've got a whole new life to them. They've got a whole new vigor to them that they want to start living again and doing stuff again. And it almost gives you that coming of age just with older folks. Is that kind of, I've been watching a lot of it lately. Like I'm watching 2 or 3 episodes a night, and I'm like,
I have
oh,
not
that's
seen it, so I
kinda-
probably can't
Oh,
comment.
okay.
I would just call it maybe a second coming of age, like a late stage blooming of
Because they're
your
like
senses.
60
I
or
don't know.
70s. They've got
I
to
don't
be
know
in
if
their
I called it a
70s.
true coming of age film.
So,
I don't think that
like,
quite fits.
The coming of age is the idea of going from in between childhood and adulthood, because
Okay,
that transition is going to be the starkest thing you do. But it's still a period of time where people change. Like, it's just a different perspective on that, because Steve Martin and Martin Short, to your point, have that whole vibe that they're like 70 years old, and it's you've experienced everything, but then can still be open to new experiences. So you have that look back with fondness type of thing of like, oh, back in the 70s I did this, but then you're still dealing with today. And it's an interesting juxtaposition where you have experiences to rely on. So I think it's not a traditional coming of age story, but it's still it's just a coming of a different age. Like becoming an older person is an entire different experience for people. You kind of have to relegate your mind to a different perspective on life.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
I will say, watching that show though, it makes me really scared to become old. I don't want to be old and alone, dude. I'm like, it's so weird. I watch this show and I'm like, I get nervous. Oh God, I'm gonna be old one day.
I
No,
mean,
you'll
that's
have
the
ghosts.
goal, though, right?
I guess so,
There's the
yeah.
alternative to being old one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, die
But I
young.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, regardless, it's inevitable. So
Well, I'll check out that show.
actually, you really should, man. It's actually a really solid show. It's fun. It's silly and goofy at times, but for the most part, it's like, I mean, Trevor's giving it kudos.
Nice.
It's really good. And I'm not a big fan of true crime podcasts, and I think them poking fun at it
I think,
helps
yeah.
me get into it more.
Oh, and
Nice.
Tina Fey, the way that she pokes at it. Oh,
Yeah.
she's so good. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I like that. That was a good discussion on that too, because like now we're trying to define really what a coming of age story is.
And I think that's what I was searching for. I know like being a kid and then going into a teenager stage or going through something new and different. Yeah, that's coming of age. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure older folks go through that too.
Sure.
Midlife
Yeah.
crises. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
a whole genre of movies too.
That's a whole
Yeah.
thing too, you know? But they're rare.
Another
You
episode,
don't-
maybe.
That's the thing, is like these type of things are rare. You're not going to find a whole lot of, like, I feel like in recent years we've been seeing a lot more older folk type of movies, like Bad Grandpa and stuff like that, just because it's like, well, we don't want these old folks like Robert De Niro to just go away. Like, we still need to have them stick around somehow. So let's keep
Sure.
putting them in movies about getting old. I don't know. Sorry, we're talking about coming of age. We'll talk
Yeah,
about
it's
that another time.
Yeah, another podcast.
Another podcast, another time.
But yeah, I think we've done a good job defining kind of what the coming of age film is and kind of why we are obsessed with it as a society. But then the question is, do we care about them?
Well, I think the also question is, do you think it's just easy, like as a creator, as a storyteller, to rely on your
I
own
think so.
experiences? Like,
I don't think that's
say
a
I
bad
have to
thing
come up.
either.
Yeah, no, but say I have to come up with like, oh, here's some sci-fi adventure or something, or some
Make it
superhero
coming
adventure.
of age sci-fi, right?
Yeah,
Right. I get
but
ya.
just grounding it in your own personal experiences is just easier, because a lot of the stories now are based on that. Because to your point, it's still coming of age. If you have a show like Stranger Things, it's all kinds of sci-fi and weird stuff happening, but it's still a coming of age story.
Coming of age, right?
And then you have, various types of Spider-Man movies where he's learning, like any kind of superhero, they're becoming a superhero. It's that coming of age. That age is the superhero age, but they're learning how to do it from scratch with
Mhm.
raw emotions and stuff. I mean, you can skew younger, like Peter has different experiences than, Iron Man, but it's that same idea. And then does that remove you from the experience more if it's super outlandish? Like you see Avatar and he's like, a 12-year-old boy, but he can do all kinds of crazy stuff. Does that make it not as relatable, or does it make it more interesting?
For me personally, it makes it more interesting. The closer any creator, any writer gets to their own personal experiences, I prefer. Like if you're, not that I don't enjoy like a high fantasy look at things, but the heart of the story, I think, is nice when you do touch upon personal experiences. I feel like that's when I am able to relate more, even if I haven't gone through those exact experiences myself, since they're going to make those feelings more relatable. If they've never experienced it themselves, they're going to have a hard time describing that. So it translates better, I think, to screen if it's a personal coming of age story kind of experience that they can write into a character's narrative. For me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I mean, it's also, I don't know. I feel like I can see myself in certain characters. I can't really see myself in Spider-Man. Like I can't, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't see myself being that type of person. I could see myself being one of the Breakfast Club. I could see myself being, one of the kids from Superbad or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Maybe that's because I've started in my older age. I've started enjoying more relatable movies where I could see myself, or I could be like, oh yeah, that's kind of what I was like when I was a kid, type of thing.
Okay.
Like I can't say that about. Oh yeah, I'm Iron Man.
Spider-Man or
I'm
Iron
Spider-Man.
Man, sure. Okay. Yes.
But I mean, but that doesn't mean that I don't not like the Spider-Man movies. I think they're great. I think Iron Man's are great. I think superhero movies are fun. I just, it's not as relatable. I don't know. It's interesting.
I feel like there's a different juxtaposition too. Just like with Steven Spielberg, he did E.T., which is a coming of age movie, but it's literally the title character is an extraterrestrial. It's not about the kids, but it's still a coming of age movie.
No,
but then he made The Fabelmans, which is literally his own story. Yeah, like he made it like, I'm going to cast my parents. I'm going to make this. And so with you have those two films by the same maker, does the allegory or analogy for coming of age where you use some fantasy object in that story, does it make the story less than? Because like Turning Red, you know that the creator made it based on her experiences of growing up, but she used an analogy for the big red panda. She didn't actually turn into a big red panda, but it made it relatable and humorous. And so I wonder if that analogy or allegory brings the storytelling, like it's not as relatable, like, oh, I didn't turn into a big red panda when I was growing up.
Or meet an alien, right?
Does it fit more like I can still see my person, and the analogy makes it more memorable than something like, oh, here's me riding a bike to school every day and getting bullied?
I don't know. So you're asking more of like the fantasy element of these stories. Does it
heightens
help
the
having
storytelling? Yeah. Or does it disconnect? It's be too relate, like, because you have the super relatable ones where it's very grounded in reality. And
sure.
Does that make it easier to connect with, or does the fantasy element make it more memorable, and so it heightens kind of the experience?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if it necessarily. I do think it's more relatable for the grounded in reality stuff. Like, I don't think I grew up thinking, oh, I'd be like Elliot one day and meet an alien. I didn't think that way. I would think like, oh, I might go out in the woods, with my friends and, do stuff like in Stand By Me. That would be more relatable, I would think. But both are memorable. So why is that?
Yeah.
No, that's great. Oh,
so
God.
I don't think it's the fantasy element.
Well, look at like Harry Potter. I mean, one of the most popular movie series of all time, and that's absolutely a coming of age story right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm doubting anybody can relate to. Oh, I mean, who knows? Maybe
Scroll. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they did.
But I mean, a lot of these movies is, there's a lot of either love and loss. There's something there that connects us to them. I think the fantasy element, I like what you're saying about the fantasy element, because I'm trying to figure out the words to put together here, but like, I like what you just said with that whole thing, because it does kind of make it more memorable. When Red came out, how many girls were like, oh my God, that's how I felt with certain aspects of that. I mean, not so much turning into a red panda and then taking pictures of the red panda and sharing pictures of the red panda.
Oh, Alex. No, that's a good point.
Should I cut that out?
Be more memorable. No, that's great. That's fantastic.
Posting pictures of red pandas.
Yeah. Posting
There's
pictures
the San Diego
of
Zoo.
Pandas. You can have red pandas anywhere, really. I mean, it's that time of the month.
That's what I learned about that movie.
Okay. And that was Alex's coming of age movie.
Oh my God.
That's fantastic. This is good stuff. I don't know if this more. I don't see. To me personally, I don't know if it necessarily makes it more memorable. I think what makes the movie more memorable is the fact that it's a coming of age story. I don't think it has to do with it being more grounded in reality or have the fantasy element.
Yeah, because I feel like Harry Potter is a good example, because it's purely fantasy, the entire sequence of events.
Right.
but it's still based on Harry learns who he is and what he wants to do. So it's the traditional
kid,
coming of
right.
age, but I feel like it's still relatable. Like I didn't go to a wizarding school, but you still go to school. Like you can
Right.
take out the idea that I'm going to go and learn transfiguration, and instead I'm just going to trigonometry. But there's still, I think, enough monotony in Harry's life to make it relatable. Like
I agree.
he does extraordinary things, but there's still monotony through the course of the year, through the course of the book.
And of course, if when you were a kid, you wish that you had abilities to do certain things, right? Like you wish you could like turn invisible, like you be being bullied or something. You wish you had superpowers, super strength, like all those kind of things you wish you had. So it's a lot of wish fulfillment too in those series.
Mhm. Yeah,
Which
wish
is kinda
fulfillment.
fun.
And it ties into also the whole like young adult books. Like think how many young adult books there are.
Oh my
Like
god,
that's a
Twilight,
super
and
popular genre. Hunger Games, all that
Hunger
kind of Maze
Games,
Runner,
yeah.
Thank you, J.K.
Divergent.
Rowling.
They all flew together.
What was that, number
And
4 or something? Was that one? Number 7?
Yep.
Anyways,
I
there's
don't
never
know.
not a supply of YA books. And I just wonder how strong that pull is for coming of age to be as strong as it is, because like Harry Potter is going to have the strongest appeal to people around our age, because like when the first book came out, Harry's 11, I'm 11. That's going to be more relevant than someone who's 30 years old reading that book at the time, or who, you know what I mean? It's just, it heightens that time period. So then I think it ties into nostalgia. And we know, like we've talked ad nauseum about nostalgia, but I think coming of age, the ones that are going to be most relevant are the ones that are nostalgia to you. And that nostalgia, I don't think, is detracted or maybe even impacted by fantasy. I think fantasy might make it more approachable, but I think that's it. Like it's going to cast a wider net, but that's probably
Yeah.
the
Yes.
main distinction.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, that's great.
And of course, I think a lot of times your favorite, and I think our favorite probably coming of age stories would be the ones that we watched when we were coming of age too.
Mhm.
For example, I think those are going to stick with you more. You'd be like, oh yeah, I remember watching that, whatever, when I was, that age and
Ninja
relating
Turtles.
to it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, great coming of age.
Watching my
movie.
sensei get captured and I had to go save him,
Yep.
of course. Yep. That's
Yes.
pretty much, yeah.
I definitely relate to being a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
My
It
sister
wasn't
got
easy
me.
coming out of my shell, let me tell you. It took a while. I got there.
They had a whole musical tour called Coming Out of the Shell tour. My sister got me a T-shirt for my birthday one time, and it said on the front, "Alex, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And on the back, it said a Ninja Turtle, and I had a picture of a Ninja Turtle because when I was a little kid, someone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and that's exactly what I wanted to be. So, coming of age, maybe that's my coming of age story right there.
Okay.
No, I don't know. So I believe Prague mentioned this, saying that that coming of age stories and movies really, and the nostalgia behind it, really come together great when you're coming of age and watching these movies. And it makes me think of American Pie. Those movies are like, for me, like it was those, I feel like those were the moments watching American Pie. Like, I think I was a little younger than the movie, but I felt like I saw high school coming. High school was there, and I was maybe a freshman, and I could see the parties and stuff from afar. Like in American Pie, I could see these guys doing the same things me and my friends were doing, and I'm like, oh my God, this is me and my buddies. And I think I'm gonna say probably American Pie next to like Breakfast Club are my two favorite coming of age stories, just because I feel like with American Pie, I feel like I can relate. I feel like, yeah, I was kind of a nerdy kid who knew enough people, knew enough popular kids, but I wasn't like bullied too much. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the main character of that, I could kind of relate to a bunch. And then Breakfast Club is just a classic movie that I just love.
Have you ever been in detention? Like a Saturday
yeah.
detention? Oh.
No, not a Saturday detention. No, I wasn't that bad. I was a good boy.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So there
Okay,
you go.
I'm
There's
trying
my
to remember. I
favorite.
think I've been in detention once, and I can't remember what it was for. So probably not doing homework or something. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I'm sure I was suspended, but that's like out
Oh,
of
well,
school
that's a little
suspension.
different. Okay. Yeah.
Out of school
Nice.
suspension where like I took a week off or something. I don't know. I might have done something like that bad.
I remember all of my
Alex.
suspensions and
Oh
detentions.
my god, really?
Trevor was a
Wow.
bad boy.
I don't
I had
remember
one
now.
detention in
Oh.
11th grade when someone in our AP history class was so dumb that they copied our outline for the notes. We had to take notes on a particular book, and they're posted online. And a lot of people took that and you reword it so it doesn't look the same. This person verbatim copy and pasted and sent it to the teacher. So our whole class got detention because he's like, I know you guys do this. This doesn't help at all. That was the one time I got Saturday detention.
That's
What?
funny.
You got in trouble for someone else?
The whole class, you couldn't. I mean, it is about equality in the end.
In the
No.
end, Trevor's a bad boy. Yeah.
Oh
So it
no,
was
I
you?
was the worst when I was in second grade. No, it wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
tell
know
us
how
about
to.
second grade.
I know how to edit stuff. I mean, in second grade, I got enough. Like, you get like a negative like strikes against you or whatever.
Sure.
I got 6 of them, and it was
Nice.
always wrong place, wrong time. Like this one time, I went
Aw.
to the bathroom, and there's this other kid who's wadding up the paper towels and throwing them on the ceiling.
Oh,
And
that
there's 2 of us in the
kid,
bathroom.
dude.
I'm literally just going
Of
to the
course.
bathroom, and we both got punished. That was a good one. There's another time where we were like wrestling up on the field, and this guy tries to flip me over his head, over his back, and my mouth and chin hit the back of his head, and he starts bleeding.
Ugh.
And he went and told on me. Like, I didn't do anything on purpose, dude.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I
good.
had the worst luck in second grade.
Wow, we are
Second
learning
grade.
a
I do
lot
not
about you
remember
right now.
much about second grade, so that's really impressive.
I have a good memory.
That's a good memory, man. All I remember about second grade is my teacher said that if we ever were out of turn, she would hang us by our toenails from the ceiling. Yeah.
When did you go to school? Like the 1700s?
I went to Catholic school, by the way. That's Catholic school for you. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. That was scary stuff. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Same teacher that told us that if you held in a sneeze, you would blow up.
Okay, where are we at in our conversation? I'm super lost at this point. We're
I
talking
don't
about.
know. We're talking
We're
about
talking
second
about
grade.
personal experiences.
reason.
Oh my god! Wow.
That was fun. That was a fun little diversion down memory lane there.
Memory lane. It's a hell of a drug.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry. Anyways, were you talking about your favorite movie there, Trevor? I can't remember.
Oh, I wasn't.
No, you weren't. Okay. do you have one?
I can only think of TV shows.
Whatever. What's your TV show that you liked?
So it's a relatively new one. It's called Red Oaks. It's on Prime, and it's set in
Okay.
the 80s. And it's this kid who goes and works at a country club, and it's not relatable to me in the slightest, but it's just an outstanding show. It's like one of just the best coming of age stories I've seen, because he's that every episode ends where he's gonna make a decision, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You don't know how it's gonna play out, but they really string it along well, where you can see why he made that decision, even if that decision turns out being poor. It's that whole idea that I grabbed to at the start, where for some reason we as humans, your parents are like, I did that exact thing you're doing. Oh, you're just dumb. I'm going to do it anyway. And you go and do it. And it turns out exactly like they said it would. And it's because they've experienced it. But for some reason, we have to experience it ourselves. And that show nails that idea.
Red Oaks, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I can't think of any occasion like that where my parents told me something and I was like, "No, I'm gonna go do it on my own." I really can't think of one occasion where I actually did that though.
You didn't ever try like go against their wishes, or I don't know.
I mean, I moved out of state. That was definitely against their wishes.
Well, there you go. How'd that turn out for you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Pretty good. See,
Pretty well for myself.
there you
Yeah. Yeah.
go. Okay.
Anyways, how about you, Prague?
Well, the problem with mine is the most popular one probably for most people, and that's Stand By Me. We've already talked about that. But but that was a movie that kind of came out when I was that age, and we watched it a lot in middle school. Like our middle school is kind of obsessed with it. Like we even watched it on the bus ride to the state capitol. It was like a big part. We would quote it all the time. We loved the barf scene. So I think that would probably be my favorite. But in terms of TV shows, there are a few. I think Freaks and Geeks does the best job of
Freaks and
depicting
Geeks, yes.
high school ever, like of anything ever. It's almost at times it's almost like cringy how real it is, like how much I relate to the characters of the three boys who are the geeks. Was so me in high school. It's pretty scary. But the cool thing about the show is it shows you like the freaks and the geeks are actually pretty similar. They just don't realize it, right? And they start crossing over. That's the whole point. And like that was me too. Like I also had friends that were the freaks, the punks and whatever the alternative rock type people. And they just kind of cross paths like that in high school, and you do the stupid stuff. You have like the house party when your parents are away, and it doesn't quite go like you think it's going to go in the movies. It was really real. And having grown up in the 80s too, like even as a kid, I saw some of the younger people there. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what Halloween was like back then. That's kind of what the inside of houses look like with the wood paneling and everything back in the 80s and the shag carpets. And even the stereotypes were like dead on, like what we were like back in the 80s. A lot of the friends that I had that looked and dressed and acted just like these people. So for me, the TV show would have to be Freaks and Geeks for the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Freaks and Geeks. I can't even come up with another TV show. I mean, except for like a Stranger Things. I mean, Freaks and Geeks is by far one of the best shows that never got a sequel.
What just came to my head, one that I did like when I was in high school was a modern one. It wasn't one that was like takes place in the past. It took place in the present, called My So-Called Life. Which when it came out, it was almost revolutionary for a lot of people because we didn't really see high school depicted in a real way. It was always like goofy, Saved by the Bell type stuff, which is fun and I loved. But like this is like real deal type stuff that they were dealing with at the time. So I enjoyed it.
I mean, a TV show that isn't the traditional coming of age that still has the whole school aspect is Community, which is still one of my favorite shows of all time. And
nice. Yeah.
It's a different phase because that idea of community college can fit anybody's life at any time.
Sure.
There are people that go to community college of a lot of different age levels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a crazily good show outside of season 4, which got ruined because TV.
we talked about this, yeah.
TV had problems back then. Streaming, people complain a lot about streaming, but creators have a lot more free reign to actually tell their stories rather than broadcast TV.
Yep.
I want to piggyback off of the Freaks and Geeks conversation really quick. Undeclared was kind of like a
It was the sequel. Yeah.
Not sequel, but sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And
another good show.
That's another coming of age just in college again. But yeah, man, it's another one of those shows that like it's very realistic and it feels very raw, and it's like I feel like I can connect with a lot of these characters, and I think that's why Freaks and Geeks and Undeclared were pretty popular shows. I don't think Undeclared got as much praise as Freaks and Geeks did, but
right. I think what those shows do, from a writer's perspective, is they put their characters in those awkward moments that you remember. They might not be the exact same, but they're always the ones that stick with you because you're like, oh God, it's so embarrassing. I can't believe I did that, said that. Because your hormones are raging at that age and you're saying the dumbest stuff. Yeah. And getting in the worst kind of trouble. And of course, it's in front of everybody, right? It's not like you're doing this in private. It's like always in the middle of the square, the cafeteria or wherever, where everyone has to see you.
Like
fall on your
pants in front of everybody.
And all that stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to relive that moment tonight.
When you were talking about embarrassing, it made me think of a show, probably the coming of age show that I've most identified with ever is Doug.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I
Doug.
forgot about Doug. He's an overthinker with anxiety, and it's like that's me. I forgot because Doug, it was like, Nickelodeon. That's like pre being kind of teenager, and it's just something that doesn't come to mind like a show you recently watched. But
Right.
I identified like with that show so much. Like I watched Power Rangers, I watched with Ninja Turtles, I watched Rugrats, all that kind of stuff. But Doug feels like the most relatable character to me I've ever experienced.
It was the most real life character. It was very boring and mundane. Like I tried to go back and rewatch Doug recently, and it's a hard get through. But it's because it's very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's mundane. It's just like I'm going to a new school today. Honk honk. Here we go.
Well, I mean, there's that episode where he goes to grandma's house and he literally gains weight. And then Patty's going to have a pool party in like 2 weeks. And he
Oh my
needs to
God.
lose weight. And he's like, do I leave my shirt on? And he goes to the pool party and no one's in the pool. Everybody's standing on the sides. And he worked out and he cared so much. And he's the first one who takes off his shirt and jumps in the pool. And it's because no one else did. It's that subverted confidence you get when everyone else is nervous.
Nice.
Was it
Yeah.
BB's pool? Because BB was rich.
I don't remember.
Oh,
I never
come
seen the
on.
show, so I have no idea.
Was
I mean, Marty
BB
McFly is coming of age right now behind you, just showing you. His
Yeah,
mother just
yeah.
walked in and hit on him.
If you're watching on YouTube, like and
Aw.
subscribe, and you're watching Back to the Future, which is also
Oh,
a comedy
Calvin. Oh.
game. Calvin Klein.
Do you want a fun fact about Back to the Future?
Oh, yes,
Please
please.
give it to me.
If Back to the Future was made today and they used the same time period, it would be based on
Don't do this.
1993.
Don't.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That
The
hurts
way
me.
olden times.
The olden times.
Oh, boy. How was it?
But okay, well,
Oh,
let's
man.
think about that for a second. I mean, times
Uh-huh.
really haven't changed that much from 1993 to now. But like when you're thinking about the 50s to the 80s, there was a lot that happened. There was a lot of change right there.
Yeah, there was.
I mean, even technology-wise, there was so much change in between those two times. But
Yeah.
from 93
From
to now,
1993, you don't think technology has changed
oh
that
no,
much?
no, don't get me wrong. Technology has changed, but think about the 50s. The 50s, they had this scene right here, one TV
Nothing.
that they didn't even know how to hook up. And 93, I mean, we had TVs in every room type of thing.
True. If I were in 93 and I saw what we have today, I don't think my mind would be as blown as someone in the 50s seeing 80s
Right.
or 90s tech, whatever. That'd be for me too, I would think,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
But music wise, oh my God, 93. I would not want to
93.
put you play some of the music that we've got today in 93 ears and minds will be blown.
You know what's interesting? Do you guys consider? I don't know if you've seen the film, but would you consider the film Casper a coming of age film?
Kid's
the live
dead,
action
dude.
one? Yeah, it's coming of age, I would think, right?
Did I tell you? Oh my God, what is happening right now? Did I
know,
tell you
worlds are
guys the
colliding.
story of? I woke up screaming the other morning.
They're not telling me this story, I don't think.
Okay, this is
hear
a
it.
total diversion from our episode, but it's weird that you brought up Casper.
Okay, let's go.
You've seen Casper the live action, right? The three uncles who are total dicks. Yeah, they're like kind of scary in the movie when you're like
Right,
8 years old. Anyways,
That was my story, was about seeing it in theater. So yes, I have seen it.
okay, cool. Sorry, yeah, I got to get it out.
Get it
So
out.
I woke up screaming the other day, where my wife ended up like waking up too, going, "Oh, you were just screaming in your sleep." And I had a dream where like a little kid who was a Casper in my dream, who was like, "Dude, you gotta hide right now." And the three uncle ghosts were trying to get me. And dude,
Wow.
it was so scary in my dream that I literally was screaming out loud.
Wow. I don't think I've had a dream from a movie that I haven't seen that in that long like that. That's kind of impressive how your memory works.
Here's the craziest part about that, though.
Uh-huh.
I woke up and I was like, screw it. I don't know if I can. I'm not going to get back to sleep right away. So I start scrolling through Instagram and I follow a lot of nostalgic stuff. No joke. Someone posted, hey, remember Casper the Friendly Ghost? Here's the Burger King toys. And it had the uncles and the toys. And I'm like, what's happening? And now you're bringing it up in our episode?
Yeah, it's all connected, man. I did this on purpose.
What's
You
happening?
know, I linked into your cameras at your house, and I was like watching it. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be perfect. We're gonna talk about it.
I know that was
fed your Instagram story. Yeah,
deviation, but man, that it's just weird. That's just a weird thing.
If you do think it is, I guess it would be, right? Because she's trying to experience death for the first time, right? Dealing with Casper and who he really is. Because to her, the whole time he's like this cartoon-looking ghost, and then he becomes the real boy at the end. He gets to see what he actually looked like when he died.
Spoilers.
But when I spoiled this movie from the 90s. When I went to go see this with my cousin. She's female, and we both saw it for the main actress. She saw it for Devon Sawa, and I watched it for Wednesday Addams. I'm blanking right now because I'm old.
Not Winona Ryder.
So we went to Christina Ricci. Thank you. God, I'm old. So we both went to go see that movie because at that age we were like, coming of age ourselves. We're like really interested now in seeing movies for, people we were attracted to, and it was really interesting that we both were the same age, going to see this movie for the two main actors in a coming of age film. And I still remember going to see it to this day and in what theater and everything. So, and it was really interesting that it was like about death. Like it really kind of harkened on that, which I thought was interesting for a kids movie.
Interesting fact about that movie. Dan Aykroyd plays a Ghostbuster in that movie, and it's a totally different studio and I'm wondering how they got away with that.
That's a good question. I wonder
because
how.
He runs out of the house.
Trivia to dig up on that. Find out.
Yeah, he runs out of the house and he goes, "I can't do anything for you." And he's full
I think I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. And he's got a big
I don't think I've
fat
seen
mustache.
the movie since, so I don't know.
Oh yeah. Anyways, sorry. Another
movie.
little deviation.
But that was cool that we kind of intertwined that for you there, Alex.
Oh yeah, thanks. Now I'm gonna have nightmares again.
Yeah.
I want to bring up just a movie that kind of sticks in my head, and I think about it from time to time, and I haven't seen it in years. And it came out in I want to say the 90s. I'm actually I pulled it up right here. But October Sky. Did you guys ever see that movie?
I've heard the title. I've not seen the movie.
It's got Jake Gyllenhaal, him back in the 50s, and how he wants to learn about how to shoot rockets and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
For and his dad's like a miner, and it's like there's so much pushback, but there's something super special about that movie that like has always stuck in my head since like the 8th grade. I think that's when I saw it, and I was like, this is phenomenal. So I want people to go out there and watch October Sky. If you can find it somewhere, it's a good
coming of age movie.
It's a coming of age. It's Jake Gyllenhaal, baby Jake Gyllenhaal. Coming of age, wanting to be a rocket scientist, and in the 50s. Pretty good stuff, man.
So, have you guys seen Dude, Where's My Car?
Yes.
Yeah, once.
Last night.
I don't remember much.
For some reason, Michelle and I were talking about it when we were walking.
Oh, okay. It wasn't like it was on.
No, she was like, I think everyone our age just had to see that movie in the theater. And I was like, why did we see it in the theater? Right. And it's because it wouldn't go to streaming. There was no streaming.
Right.
And when you're in middle school, it was like cool and edgy to go see this movie. It like hit that perfect time. And it's just such a stupid movie. It's one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen. And it was still entertaining.
But that's a good coming of age experience, right?
Yeah.
Like going to see that movie, you didn't know you're not supposed to. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. Because I saw it with a friend. Like I used to like that was the age where you usually see movies with your parents, and it's one of the first movies where I went and just saw it with friends. Yeah.
My first movie that I saw with friends without my parents, and the reason why I was able to do this is because I was home alone with my older brother, and he let me go, and it was my first R-rated movie, and it was Terminator 2. So that was kind of a fun, experience.
My God.
I was a kid.
That's the
watching
one where
movie
you're
for the
scared
first
of
time.
all the people's skin
I was
melting
like,
off, right?
oh
Yeah.
my god! I was like, everything's gonna, I'm gonna walk out, and then bomb's gonna drop. But it was great. Like I loved it. Like that was a great experience. I got to see like an R-rated film. I got to see things that I wasn't allowed to see. All that blood and swearing and stuff, and sexual
I can't
innuendo.
think of anything that I ever saw by myself.
I mean, I wasn't alone. I was with my friends.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, but without my parents. Like, I can't think of
Right.
my first movie I ever saw without my parents. It's
Yeah. I thought it was great 'cause
golly,
he let me
man.
go. Maybe he didn't realize it was rated R. I don't know, but oh well, I went anyways. It was great.
Yeah, I don't think
all
I
fun.
even saw a rated R movie till I was, like senior in high school. I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't really into movies back then.
Oh, I had that one summer. That one summer where I discovered a lot thanks to a buddy of mine. Oh yeah, that was a good summer.
Oh my god.
Anyways,
Yeah.
speaking of coming of age.
Oh my god, Prague.
Oh, coming of a lot of things there that summer.
Everything's coming up, Millhouse.
Any other final thoughts on this? Anything else that you guys remember? Anything recent, maybe else?
I look forward to seeing what new coming of age movies come out and how we're gonna relate to them now, because now we're all much older now, and it's I still enjoy watching shows. Like for instance, the show Big Mouth. Big Mouth is in a way, I guess, a coming of age story about a kid who's going through puberty and stuff. But like, I've been through all that. Like, it's a funny show, but I feel like I'm, at a new point in my life.
Right. Sure. This is not going to be as funny. It's like, I get it.
Well, no, not that it won't be as funny, but how am I supposed to relate anymore? I don't know. I feel like I relate more to Steve Martin and Martin Short.
No, Alex, what you relate to, the coming of age story is Bluey.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's multifaceted. It's for Bluey herself and her sister Bingo, but it's also for the dad. I mean, the dad's the crux of the entire show. That's what makes the show so universally liked, that it appeals to two different age groups.
I love that Trevor spends 1 week at my house and now he watches Bluey.
Bluey's outstanding.
It really is. It's
this a show or is this
yes?
It's called Bluey.
If you've seen the characters, it's Bluey the little dog, the family of dogs.
What?
Anyways,
Australian family of dogs.
But here's the thing: is there's so many things about.
Oh, we're talking about like a kid show, like a little kid show.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a kid show. It's designed for little kids.
Yeah, for my 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the funny thing is the way that they made it is that we as adults could watch it and go, "Oh my god, wow!"
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah.
Like, there's stuff that they do. For instance, I love telling this story because this is wild. There's an episode where Bluey and her sister are playing in the yard, and the parents are putting together a swing set. And Bluey and the sister, they start out by saying, "Okay, well, we're little amoebas, like we're nothing. But I'm your baby amoeba." And then now we're lizards, and they start going through evolution. And but if a 3-year-old's not going to catch that, but as a dad, I perk up and I'm like, what are they doing? Oh my God. So then they go, okay, now I'm your mommy and you're my kid. And then eventually, like, the parents are taking the box of the swing set and they throw it over the edge, and the kids pick it up and they build a city. And they build this whole city around, and then Bingo at the very end grabs one of the boxes and says, "Oh, and this is my rocket ship. Mommy, can I go fly around in my rocket ship?" And she's like, "Well, I guess you can go." Like, she was very sad because they've been playing evolution, whatever. And she goes, plays. And the parents just then finish the swing set. Bluey turns around, looks at her parents, runs up to the swing set and sits down with them. And the sun is setting. Bingo, the little dog, is running around the yard. And the dad goes, "This is just like heaven." And it's like, whoa. Oh my
Whoa.
god.
This is
Did
deep
Bluey
for a
just
little kid
die?
show.
Well, no, it just shows that whole evolution of going from amoebas to lizards to monkeys to
Rockets in space and everything, right?
rockets in
Right.
space to then
That's cool.
dying
Nice.
and being in heaven.
So is
or
this the
if that's
show
what you
that where
believe.
they're made out of like plaid characters or something? I'm trying to picture what the show is, like if I've ever seen pictures of it. So
No,
if
you
it's not
definitely
that,
have.
then it's something else.
Like
Okay, I have no
plaid-like
idea.
characters. I don't even know
I
what
have
that
no
is.
idea. I might be thinking of Blue's Clues or Paw Patrol. I
No.
don't know what my nephews watch. I have no
Blue's
idea.
Clues. True coming of
Sure.
age.
Yeah.
No idea. Bluey.
gotta-
Bluey.
Oh my
I'll
god.
figure it out.
You gotta bring that brightness
No
down.
idea.
Jeez!
Oh my
You got
Lanta.
old person brightness.
Oh my god.
Control center.
I have never seen that character in my life.
You've
But
never
cool.
seen.
All right.
Anyways,
No, never seen it.
Bluey, coming of age for 3-year-olds.
All right.
And
That's
for
not the kind of
parents.
Bluey I've been used to, but all right.
Can I?
Bluey the dog.
I'm gonna throw some honorable mentions out there. Dazed and Confused, Almost
Go
Famous.
ahead. Of course.
God,
Well,
these
obviously,
are
Elvis
these,
Famous. That's the one I like.
I was gonna say, I was kind of surprised you didn't say something about it.
Well, I talked about that last time.
I know. And then Napoleon Dynamite. I
That's
saw
a good one,
Napoleon
yeah,
Dynamite
all right.
5 times in theaters because for some
Wow.
reason I thought this is art.
I
And I
think a
thought it
lot
was
of people
funny.
watched that movie a lot in theaters. That was pretty popular when it came out.
It
for sure.
was popular. I was like,
Both
I
for
was a
Pedro. Oh yeah.
freshman in
Oh, yeah.
college, film school, which I only
Yeah.
went to film school for 1 year, so and then I graduated.
Look at you now. Yeah.
Then I graduated. So
There
yeah. Anyways, what else do we have here?
Well, I mean, honorable mentions. I do want to mention Lady Bird just because Greta Gerwig did an amazing job with Barbie. Everybody's watching Barbie. Not as many people watch Lady Bird, but she did an outstanding job with that movie. Talk about just like coming of age, pure rebellion against your parents, and then realizing how that's. It's a realization of almost I'm going to rebel, and then realizing that you're rebelling just for the sake of rebelling.
Right. Exactly. Speaking of which, my honorable mention then will be 8th Grade by Bo Burnham, which
Oh,
is
wow.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Another example of the kid kind of rebelling a bit, but also, but she was really awkward about it, and then coming to terms with her dad, her single father. So great movie. Definitely some of the most cringiest scenes ever filmed in history are in that movie.
Kind of reminds
It's a
me
tough watch.
of the movie 13. Was it 13? Where
Yes,
they rebelled
13.
against-
Oof, that
Yeah,
was rough too.
dude, that was a rough one.
I think
too.
8th Grade is a little better, but
Yeah.
something to watch. Some good honorable mentions.
Ah, sorry.
And then there's
One-
Mean Girls.
And of course, there's Mean Girls.
You got to have Mean Girls in any talking about coming
She
of
doesn't
age.
even go here.
or Juno.
I'm trying to make
Dude,
fetch happen. Juno.
Juno's another good one. Okay, now we're just listing
All right,
stuff
that's enough.
off.
That's
Well,
enough.
Juno and Napoleon Dynamite were the same time period. Like
Mm-hmm.
it
Came out
was
at the
just
same time, right?
it was
Yeah.
like a thing.
And it had the same feel. Well, cool. Those were some great honorable mentions.
That was
Yeah.
a lot. And so
That was
before
a
we
lot.
do end, I want to do a spoiler-free review of the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka. It's going to be a
Ah.
weekly show, and so they
All right.
released the first 2, and I've been super hyped for this show. I'm a big fan of Clone Wars, Rebels, all the storytelling that Dave Filoni has done. He created Ahsoka from scratch, and now he's making a TV show based on that. And episode 1 is not very good. I'll put it bluntly. Like Dave Filoni wrote and directed. He writes the whole series, but he directed episode 1. Episode 2 he does not direct, and episode 2 was very good. So it's uneven so far, but episode 2 left me excited. Episode 1 is just very slow and methodical and very wooden portrayals of everyone, characters that I've loved and seen across multiple seasons, because this show is season 5 of Rebels. If you haven't seen Rebels, this is season 5. They can call it whatever they want. This is season 5 of Rebels. And episode 2 leaves me excited, but episode 1 was not good. So if you just watch episode 1 and are done with this show, I totally understand, but you're going to probably be missing out.
Okay. Well, it's good to know because episode 1 was probably one of the worst episodes of Star Wars that we've gotten so far, TV wise,
Yeah.
which is too bad because, like, the look of it looks good. You know, the costumes. I think
Mhm.
the people they cast were right, but like I felt like he's not a good director. Like it just fell flat. So if you're saying that episode 2 is better, then I'm definitely gonna watch episode 2 then. So.
Episode 2 is really good. It gets
I almost
into
gave up.
the
I was
story
like,
they're actually
I'm not
telling.
gonna do it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I kind of felt like the episode 1 was like the setup for like people who don't know anything about Rebels. Like that's what it felt like. It was like the characters being wooden and trying to tell the story of their past and where they're gonna go.
Right.
So
It's
I don't
that
need
type
to
of
watch.
thing. Well, no, it's that type
Right.
of thing where it's a delicate balance to depict exposition through storytelling versus
Right.
characters' dialogue. Let me stand for 5 minutes and tell you
Uh-huh.
exposition. It's not everyone can pull that off as
No.
storytellers.
No.
Well, and so I don't need to watch Rebels or anything like that. I could just watch.
I'm honestly
into
really
this.
intrigued. I know so much about Rebels lore. Like I've seen the show twice that I don't know how accessible this show is if you haven't seen it, because I get everything and it's tough to even extract yourself to have that perspective of not knowing anything. Like I've seen the memes on Instagram where people are like, I didn't know that this was going to require me to watch 4 seasons of homework to watch this show. So
I don't want homework. I just want to jump into it. So what we'll do, we can make it an episode where you explain to me and I go, oh, that's what that means.
Mhm.
I honestly
Kind of
don't
like
have
what
an
we used to
answer.
do.
Yeah, like I literally don't have an answer of what that, if you need that perspective of Rebels or not, because I don't even know what it would be like. It's kind of like watching Harry Potter not having read the books, where they tell the story, you get the story, but you just don't get really what's good.
Oh, okay.
I guess even more than that. I don't know.
It probably is.
Because you're coming into the story like several seasons in that, because you're right. It feels like season 5, I
Five.
guess, right?
Yeah,
Of
5.
Rebels. Yeah, it
Mhm.
feels like season 5 of Rebels is what it feels like to me. It's a lot of like, oh, you know who? They do a lot of that to you. And like, who? Like, I mean, I know who they're talking
Like if you
about.
don't know the names Thrawn,
Yeah,
or
they don't know.
Ezra or anything like that,
or who the heir to the Empire is. Like, well, who are they talking about?
it's weird.
Yeah.
Who
it
is
could
the
be
heir
weird.
to the Empire?
You have to
Exactly.
watch to find out.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
Well,
this
good
is
coming
supposed to
of
be
age.
short. It's coming of age for Ahsoka and Sabine
Yes.
and Ezra.
I do like the new baddie. She's awesome. Really awesome. I hope she kills everybody. It'd be fantastic.
Ray Stevenson sadly passed away, but his character's very not one note as usually Sith are. Like he's very multifaceted. I really like his character.
Yeah. So signing for that at least.
So we'll probably talk about Ahsoka once all of it's aired. Just keep that in mind, Alex.
No, I know. I'm gonna start watching. I almost started watching it today, actually, but I was like, "Oh, there's this Gators documentary," and I'm like, "This Gators documentary is good, dude. It's so
Choices.
good. It's really good, dude. Oh my God."
Is that the Tim Tebow one?
Well, it's got Tim Tebow in it,
But
and
he's on the
Urban
poster
Meyer.
art.
No.
Oh.
It's on Netflix.
But yeah, no, the number one Netflix thing right now has Tim Tebow on the cover art. So I thought that's what you were
Maybe,
talking
yeah.
about.
I didn't see him on the cover art, so. Or maybe I did. I don't know, dude. Yeah, sure. Yes.
Cool.
I can't imagine there's multiple Tim Tebow documentaries right now.
God, I hope not. Oh.
Coming of
Hey,
age with Tim
God's
Tebow.
God's on his side, brother.
Yep.
Okay.
To everyone listening, please tell us what your favorite coming of age story is. Is it because it's your nostalgia? Is it because it's highly relatable to you? Is it a fantasy element that puts it over the top? Let us know. And until next time, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you later.
Prog out.
Adios, y'all.
I totally forgot to